Hi, this is attorney and mediator Mike Whalen with the Whalen Brown Law Firm in Austin, Texas. In this video, I wanted to talk about the custody case. A custody case, I'm using a very generic term to apply to child-related cases. They can come out of a divorce or a suit affecting the parent-child relationship, which is the typical custody case, all kinds of environments. The principles I'm going to talk about today will cover every one of those situations. What I'm trying to do through this conversation is show you how to maximize your time with your children by following some crucial guidelines. So, before I tell you about what a judge usually does in a custody case, I wanted to give you 3 rules that will help you motivate that judge to see things your way. So these are the 3 B's of a custody case. Number 1, be mindful. Keep the rights of the other parent in mind. When you talk about being, quote-unquote, the primary parent, one of the things the judge will look at, not just who will protect a child, but who will protect the rights of the other parent with that child. So always be mindful of those rights. Number 2, be respectful. Respect the court's orders. This is a big thing. Let the court do its job. Don't assume that you know better as the parent, and so you're going to do things without first getting a judge's order. As I said in the first point, if another parent has rights and you unilaterally decide to do what you want without a court's order, you can expect to pay for that into the future. So be respectful of that court. And number 3, be protective. In some instances, there really are things that you need to do to protect your kids. Do those things. The law allows you to have protective orders, temporary restraining orders, temporary orders, the police. There are many avenues that you can take to keep the kids protected, and you need to take those because a judge wants to see that you are a protective parent. So, with those 3 ideas in mind, I want to give you kind of an idea of how most custody cases go. A custody case is actually 3 pieces. We'll talk about conservatorship, how decisions are made for the child, possession and access, who spends time with the child and when, and child support. Is anybody helping anybody else with the cost of the child? Before we get into each of those areas, I want to introduce you to the concept of the presumptions. In family law cases, there are a lot of background rules, things that a judge must apply to a case unless somebody shows they're special and the rules should change. Those are called the presumptions. And you'll see in a lot of these cases, judges will tend to do certain things with conservatorship, possession, and child support. It's because those presumptions are pushing on the judge to make those calls. You need to be aware of what those presumptions are so that you can know what a judge is leaning toward before you even walk in the court, and to know how to use the presumptions to your advantage. So, first, let's talk about the presumptions with regard to conservatorship, which again is how decisions are being made for the child. These 3 rules almost always apply when a court has to tell parents how to make choices for the kids. Number 1, both parents have a right to know. We're talking here about medical records, school events, whatever it is that's going on in a child's life. The rules exist to make sure both parents know what's going on with their child. Number 2, both parents should work together. This can be complicated by things like family violence. Obviously, the court won't make that assumption. But if that's not true, the court will they'll make both of you what's called the joint managing conservators. That means that you should work together to make decisions for the children. And number 3, parents should be geographically close to their child. One of the rights that a parent can have is the right to designate the residence of the child. Parents can live wherever they want, but once a court gets involved, it's going to tell you where the kids get to live, who gets to make that decision. Usually, there's a geographic restriction. We're going to keep everybody within these few counties to make sure that both parents have constant access to the children. So those are the 3 big rules for conservatorship to keep in mind. The biggest presumption that I want to talk about now, this actually covers all of the areas of a case, is that kids should not have their lives stirred up unless that's totally necessary. The courts call this the best interest of the child, and courts in Texas read that to mean what the child is used to, as long as it's not unhealthy. Now, courts ask some pretty generic questions to try to identify which parent a child is more comfortable with in terms of dealing with the daily tasks. So, ask yourself, have you been the parent who takes the kids to extracurricular activities or to church or brushes their teeth or buys their clothes? In some cases, those tasks are divided evenly between the parents, but in the majority of cases I've seen, one of the parents has had more experience with these daily activities. Now, the reason that's important, specifically with regard to possession and access, is because of this weird question of the primary parent. I'll tell you, since courts assume that parents should work together, I don't like the term primary parent. I actually prefer to talk about the terms weekday parent and weekend parent. I've been told by other lawyers that those also aren't very nice terms, but I think they're more descriptive. Whether it's right or wrong, they're the best terms I can come up with to describe the state caused by the standard possession order. And that's what we want to talk about right now, the presumptions with regard to possession and access in the standard possession order. So let's start with this handy-dandy calendar. We're going to describe the standard possession order. Once the court determines which parent the child is more used to in terms of the day-to-day, that parent's time with the child usually dominates the weeknights and the weekdays. The other parent will get every Thursday night under the standard possession order from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That weekend parent also gets the first, third, and fifth weekends of the month, usually from 6 o'clock on Friday to 6 o'clock on Sunday. Now, those weekends, just so you know, are based on the Friday. So if that fifth Friday is the 31st of a month, even though Saturday is the first of the next month and Sunday is the second of the next month, because the Friday was in the prior month, they're actually going to get that weekend as the fifth weekend and the next weekend as the first weekend. Now, to throw a little wrench in it, the legislature came up with something called the expanded standard possession order. Basically, it's designed to limit the times parents run into each other during exchanges, and it focuses on school times. Rather than picking the kids up from the weekday parent at 6, the weekend parent gets the kids at school on Thursday and then keeps them overnight, takes them back to school on Friday. Now, something similar happens on the weekends. On the first, third, and fifth weekend, you see here, the weekend parent actually picks the kids up from school on Friday and then keeps them overnight on Sunday to drop them off back at school on Monday. That happens on the first, the third, and the fifth weekend. The code says that this expanded standard possession order, whether that happens or not, is at the weekend parent's election. They get to choose, and it's up to their schedule. Now, there are many other aspects of the standard possession order, like extended summer visits and alternating major holidays, but this covers the weekly normal for most weeks of the year. So that's standard possession and access. The next set of presumptions I want to talk about is child support. Usually, if you can look at a schedule like we just did and say that there's a weekday parent and a weekend parent or something similar, then usually the weekend parent has to pay some child support. I believe these rules will change as courts give more equal time to both parents and require both parents to maintain a nice home for the children. It might be the same amount of money, but I think they'll come at it differently. In any case, for now, child support usually follows a pretty simple formula. Once the court figures out who is paying whom, the paying parent's income is calculated. Some money is taken out for taxes and health care for the kids, and then the court does some math with that net monthly income. If the couple has one child, the paying parent will pay 20% of his or her income to the other parent as child support each month. If there are 2 kids, the number becomes 25%. If 3 kids, 30%, and so on. 4 kids, 35%. There are caps on the amount a court can take out for child support. And these numbers get complicated by things like healthcare or disability, special needs, but these percentages work in the majority of cases. All right, now we've talked quite a bit about the most common baseline rules in a custody case. There's obviously a lot more to talk about. We're already 10 minutes into this conversation, but you need to know what it means to be called the so-called primary parent. As you can tell from the rules we talked about, that decision of who's the primary parent or the weekday parent can have a huge impact on your decision-making for the child, your time with the child, and what support you get to raise the child. So, since that's so important, I want to revisit those 3 B's of a custody case to make sure you're on the right side of that call. Always be mindful. Keep the rights of the other parent in mind. Just basically don't come off like a jerk in court, and the judge will be happy to invest that control in you. The second thing, be respectful. Again, respect the court's orders. Don't do things willy-nilly and think you can just explain it to the judge later. If you need some help, talk to a judge. Number 3, be protective. Again, if there are things going on in the case, kids need protection from the other parent or other parties around a case, make sure to be actively protecting those kids. If you do those 3 things, you give yourself the best chance to spend the most time possible with your kids, to make the healthiest decisions for them, and to receive the financial help you need to take care of them. Again, my name is Mike Whalen. I'm with the Whalen Brown Law Firm. We can be found at whalenbrown.com. Come over to our website and spend some time there to learn more about these particular issues. Again, even though this video's gone long, we're barely touching the surface. So come visit us, ask us questions, let us know if we can do anything to help. Again, thank you so much for watching these videos. Take a look at our YouTube site and our website to see plenty of others. Thank you again.